You are no doubt familiar with the Oris Aquis. This is their line of modern divers that has come in a variety of sizes, materials, with different movements even. Its design could be considered polarizing by some, but there's no doubt that it is 100% Oris even from a distance. There's no mistaking this watch. Now, what happens when Oris wants to take this concept to the extreme and engineer something way beyond the needs of us mortals? Well, you get something like this. My name is Blake Bettner. I'm the managing editor of Worn and Wound. So today we are talking about the Oris Aquis Pro 4,000 meters. Let's dive in. This is Oris's Extreme Aquis, the Aquis Pro 4,000 meters. That, as you may have guessed, has a depth rating of 4,000 meters, or 400 bar, or 13,123 feet. This is extreme by every measure, not just in its capabilities, but even at a glance, just looking at it from every angle. This watch screams over-engineered tool. And you know what? I kind of like that. I've always been a little bit on the fence in terms of the looks of the Aquis, but this one kind of does it for me in a way that the others don't, and I'm not quite sure why. Obviously, the dimensions are also to the extreme. This is 45.5 millimeters in diameter. It is 55 millimeters from lug to lug, and 24 millimeters in thickness. It's also 195 grams in weight. It is a titanium case though, and despite those numbers that I just read off to you, it's actually pretty easy to wear on the wrist. And that comes down to the shape of the case and the rubber strap on here, as well as the trick clasp that they have. And we'll get into all that stuff here, but I want to just comment on the design here and why this might work in ways that other Aquises don't. And I chalk this up to a few things here. First is the wave dial that radiates from lighter blue to dark blue and then black in the chapter ring at the edge of the dial. The black ceramic bezel insert that has the first 15 minutes indexed in blue, and then the rotation safety system here that locks the bezel into place. Now, this locking system is novel to Oris in how they've approached it, but it's certainly not a concept unique to these extreme divers. We recently reviewed the Omega Seamaster PloProf that has its own unique solution to this by including a big button off to the side that you have to press to unlock the bezel. We'll leave a link to that video down below. This Aquis has a system that requires you to lift this vulcanized rubber ring around the bezel to unlock it, which will then allow you to rotate it. Unlike the PloProf, this still only turns in one direction, so it's kind of a double safety layer there. Now, this RSS rotation safety system, as we see written on the side of the assembly here, is conceptually very easy to understand. It's a little bit clunky in use, and I find that it can kind of snap down when I'm not meaning it to as I'm rotating the bezel here. So if I was at extreme depths, this might not be something that I would want to fiddle with all that much, especially if my gear or life depended on it. But on land, it's not too bad to use, and it's kind of an interesting feature that adds not only that layer of protection, but also something interesting visually to the side of the case as well, which I appreciate. I like big bulky bezels though, so maybe that's just me, and that's why I find this potentially one of the most handsome Aquises that has been built to date, even though I don't plan on diving to anywhere near 4,000 meters anytime soon. Now, this watch is appearing at an interesting time. Over the past couple of years, we've seen kind of a resurgence of these extreme divers from the brands that you might expect, like Omega, like Rolex, who have done the Planet Ocean Ultra Deep and the Deep Sea Challenge version of the Sea Dweller, respectively. Those watches cost quite a bit more than this, and they might go down a bit deeper than something like this, but at that point, it's really just kind of a bragging right. And that's kind of the purpose of these watches. It's kind of an engineering flex of look at what we can create, and it adds a little bit more of those bona fides to the collection as a whole. So it's impressive to see Oris build something like this and have the capability to test it at the pressures that this thing is going to require, especially with systems like this bezel here, which is unique to this watch. There's also another interesting feature here built into the clasp that I want to call out, and it is a quick extension system built into the deployant that uses a couple of buttons here. It makes it pretty easy to adjust by a pretty wide margin. However, those buttons do find themselves a bit close to the buttons that actually release the clasp from your wrist. So I've had a time or two where I've accidentally pressed the wrong button when I'm trying to make an adjustment or take the watch off my wrist. But overall, I think this is a pretty cool system, and how they've built it into here is pretty neat. Kind of takes a lot of material out of the center there. So it feels like maybe it's leading to a lightweight clasp situation, which is a detail that I appreciate. This watch also gets a helium release valve that is flush along the side of the case walls in a similar manner that we see on Rolex with their Sea Dweller watches. And of course, this could be seen as more of a necessity for an extreme diver like this, or if you're in a situation where you are diving to ultra deep depths and you would require time in a decompression chamber, this will give any helium that has entered the watch a way to escape the watch without taking the crystal with it. Now inside, Oris is using their own caliber 400, which is their in-house movement with 5 days of power reserve. It's anti-magnetic, and of course has that 10-year warranty on it. So it's got all those features that we love and understand and introduced to you with the movement when it came out just a few years ago. We'll leave a link to that article down below. Of course, there is no exhibition case back here, as there usually isn't with extreme divers of this stripe. So who's this watch for? Well, believe it or not, there is a subset of collectors that really enjoyed collecting these over-engineered type tool watches. There's arguably no practical reason for anybody to be owning a watch with this kind of capabilities, like Omega's ultra deep divers, just like Rolex's ultra deep divers, but we still kind of love them anyways for the interesting engineering solutions that have been built in, and this is most certainly has that. And those watches that I referenced from Omega and Rolex are all well over $10,000. So it makes Oris's price point here of $6,200 on this feel like you're getting a lot of watch for that money, especially something with impressive specifications such as this. More than anything though, as I said, this is a showcase of what Oris is capable of and adds a bit more to the reputation of the Aquis as a whole. So this might kind of make the Aquis feel a little bit more serious, like a serious dive tool all the way on down the line. So whatever your take on it, we'd love to hear from you down in the comments below. What do you think of this thing? Would you wear it around on a daily basis? Would you enjoy having something like this? Let us know. We'd be curious to hear from you. But again, I didn't mind having this watch on my wrist. I could see this being a watch that I would wear from time to time. Maybe not every day though. I think this maybe falls into that 4th or 5th watch category. This is the Oris Aquis Pro 4000 meter from Oris. It is $6,200 on this blue rubber strap, and it is available now from Oris. We'll have links to more of my thoughts on this watch now live on Worn and Wound. Let us know what you think down below. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. And if you enjoy this content, please be sure to leave a like and share. It helps us out a lot. Until next time, take care.